Hi friends, welcome to WebChamp. In this video, I'm going to discuss calculate function in DAX. Okay, so DAX has filter functions, and in filter functions, calculate function is one of the functions that we use to perform the calculations in modified filter context. Okay, so let's understand what is mean by context first, and then we will see how the calculate is going to modify the filter context. Okay, if I say context is nothing but simply the filtering and aggregation conditions that are applied to the data within a visual or a calculation. So that is what nothing but context. So just filters which are applied to perform the calculations. Either it can be aggregation or it can be in visuals. Okay, obviously, so even though we create the visuals, aggregation happens there, right? So there is something called filter context. Okay, when you have applied the active filters, meaning you have applied the filters on the data, either from the by using slicer, by using the filters, even from the visuals, from the relationships, even by using any other factors, that is going to filter the data in either visual in case of calculation. That is what nothing but your filter context. Okay, there is something called row context. So when you go and try to perform the calculated column, okay, if you are trying to create the new column as in calculated column, so in that case, if you try to apply any condition, so that condition will be executed for each of the row, right? So that kind of filter or that kind of context is referred as a row context, which is only referring to the current row that is being evaluated in the DAX calculation. If you use any column in the aggregations, if you want to take the sum of any column, okay, so in that case, we can say that the calculation happens in column context. And there is something called modified context. If you are going to perform the calculations by using DAX functions, it can be aggregations. Okay, so in that case, even though there are other filters, meaning the filter contexts are already there, and if you are going to modify that filter context, so in that case, we can say that the context is modified. Okay, meaning modifying the existing filter context. The existing filter context is nothing but the filters which are already active on the data sets during the calculation. Okay, but how this modified filter works? So there are three types of expressions that help us to modify the filter context, meaning the modified filter context. Okay, so if I come here, so there is something called filter expressions in DAX. So there are three types of expressions that we use to modify the filter context, existing filter context in calculations. So there is something called Boolean filter expression, there is something called table filter expression, and there is something called filter modification functions. Okay, what is mean by Boolean filter expression? Okay, if you use the conditional operators to filter the data while performing the calculations, okay, not is equal to, greater than or is equal to, even in case last one is lesser than or is equal to, if you use this kind of expression, that expression returns, okay, that expression returns Boolean value. And based on that, if any filtering is going to happen, so we can say that that kind of expression is Boolean filter expression. Then there is something called table filter expression, which is used to modify the filter context for the calculation involving the specific table. Meaning, if you are using table expression, meaning you will filter the table. You are not going to directly use the Boolean expression. You will use the Boolean expression to filter the table, and the expression which is going to return the table after filtering the data. Okay, that kind of expression. And that we use that kind of expression in a filter. So that kind of expression we referred as a table filter expressions. Okay, so I will come to this point. Even in this case also, before performing the calculation, what we will do? We will modify the table. We will modify the table. So I will discuss these 2 points with the example also. Then there is something called filter modification functions. Okay, DAX has functions called all, even keep filter. There are many functions with the all. Okay, all selected, all accepted, and all. With all, there are 4-5 functions that started with all. So those functions, even there is something called a remove filter. So these functions in the DAX are there to modify the filter context, to modify the filters which is being used in the calculation. Okay, so let's see how this works. My point of interest is to how this works. Okay, so this is just a concept. So here, if I say filter context, okay, if I come here, I'm going to perform some calculation. Okay, so if I use the matrix, instead of matrix, I will select the table. I will bring the occupation, right? And I will bring the calculation. So here, if you see, you are getting the sum of cells as per the occupations. It is getting filtered automatically. Right? So this is your filter context. Even if you apply the filter from any other external source, okay, if I wanted to see the sum of cells for the category, if I bring the filter here, if I select the bikes, so this is getting modified. Even if I want to select this for clothing or components, okay, for component nothing is there. If I say accessories, so this is what my values. So this is again in a filter context. Okay, if you apply the filter, even if you use the slicers, okay, if I bring and if I add the, okay, instead of a complete date, if I use the year only, okay, again this is a part of filter context. Again, this is a part of filter context. So any kind of filter that is active while performing the calculations, while performing the visuals, meaning while creating the visuals, that filter, it can come through the slicer, it can come through the visuals, it can come through the relationships. We can consider that is a filter context. Okay, then let's say what is row context. If you go and if I use this, okay, this expression I am using here, even what I will do, I will create the new column, okay, for the demonstration. Okay, what is row context? And here I will just say check. The expression which I am going to write is for the day name. Okay, if I say if, or let's say if I say day name, calendar day name is equals to Sunday, this will return true and false. But if you look, or if you think over it, okay, you can see that this is working for each of the row. This expression is getting evaluated. Okay, this comparison is happens for each and every row, right? So this is your row context, where evaluation happens for each row. Then what is column context? So if I come here and if I am creating a measure. Okay. And I will use the one of the aggregation function here. Sum of cells. I will use the sum function. And in this function, I'm going to pass one column name. And this will calculate the sum for entire column. So this, if I pass here, okay, as a column name, so this calculation happens in column context. It is not going to worry about the rows and all, right? So whatever the values are there in that column, it will pick that values, sum, produce the sum. Okay, it will produce the result accordingly. If I bring this, it is fine. So this is what the value I am getting. Right. So this is your column context. Okay, there is something called modified context. So if you have filters already applied there, even if I remove this, you can see that this amount is going to change. Okay, you are not sure whether this is applicable for, yes, this is applicable for entire page. Slicer works for the page. Okay, so if I select 2003, this shows me this much amount. The filters are already getting applied on this. But still, if you use the expressions to add the more filters, to add the more filters. So let's say there is something called calculate function. Okay, this function allows you to evaluate the expression in a context modified by the filter. Okay, there is already external filters are there, which is coming on this visual. Okay, still if I say sum of sales amount, okay, and on next line, after giving the comma, it is again giving me options to add the filter. Okay, but from here, okay, not only you can add the filter, okay, but I would say you can remove the filter also. The filters that are getting applied on this calculation, that can be removed. Even you can add the filter. Okay, if I say country, territory country is equal to, I will say United States. Instead of United States, I will say Canada. Okay, this is what my country. Fine. Even yes, this is going to add more filters in the, even your number got decreased. Yes, so this is able to add the filter, meaning it is able, meaning the expression, okay, the calculate function has functionality to modify your existing filters. Okay, that's why we say whatever the filters we apply here, that has the ability to modify your existing filter context. That's why we say the calculate function evaluates the expression in the modified filter context. Okay, now the thing is, okay, now the thing is, just what we have seen is it is able to apply the filter. Okay, if I say all, and if I say sales amount, okay, all sales. See, if I use, even I have not discussed this function. Okay, if I use this function, so I can say that this function is going to remove each and every filter that is applied externally, each and every type of filter, and it will return me the total sum of cells. Okay, even you can see that if I modify this slicer, nothing is going to change in this. Yes, so can I say the calculate function evaluates the expressions, whatever the expressions we will pass to the calculate function in the modified filter context. So this is all about the modified filter context. Now let's understand what is Boolean filter expression. If I use the same one, okay, I don't want to do this. Okay, if I remove, so just time before I used one type of filter. Okay, here we used all. So third situation we used, meaning the third type of expression we used, filter modification functions. Okay, so we have used filter modification functions in calculate here. Okay, so no need to discuss that once again by sequence. Okay, so this is your function, meaning the DAX has even more functions that has ability to modify your existing filters in different ways. Okay, so this is your filter modification functions from the DAX. So DAX has functions which can modify existing filters. That is what your filter modification functions. If you apply, okay, if you apply the simple expression, meaning the conditional operators, and if I say I want the sum of sales for the country called Canada. Okay. How this calculation happens, how this calculation works, let's understand. So there is a relationship between these two tables, sales table and territory table. Obviously, there is a relationship. Okay, based on that, we are using the territory country is equal to Canada, and it is able to filter. Right? You can see that it is able to filter the data. But the type of expression we used here is simple a Boolean expression. This expression, what it returns, okay, what it is going to do, it will go for each of the row of this sales table. Let me select this sales table first. Whenever there is a territory key, okay, based on the territory key, it will check the value of country called Canada. Whenever there is a territory key 6, whenever there is a territory key 6, for that key, it will return the true. It will return the true. Okay. Else, it is going to return false. So what is happening? When there is a true for any specific row, against that row, the value will be considered in calculation. To perform whatever the aggregation you used, that doesn't matter. Okay, and this is your Boolean. So based on the true false, it is going to work for all the rows. Right? Based on this, it is going to work for all the rows. But this expression, meaning whatever the expression we use here, this expression returns Boolean value for each of the row. That's why we say this expression is type of Boolean filter expression. Okay, even this works for individual row within a table based on the Boolean condition, whatever the condition you have passed. Then what is table filter expression? Okay, even in case of filter context, okay, that is we can refer as a modified filter context of calculate functions. In case of filter context, instead of returning the Boolean value, you can return the modified table. How to return the modified table? Okay, so here, if I say filter, okay, and obviously filter function, if you look here, this returns a table that has been filtered. Okay, and what I will do, I will use the same. You will get the same result. You will get the value of 1.98 million as a sum of cells, because I'm going to filter the table first and return the table, and based on that table, I'm going to perform the sum aggregation. So if I say sum of, okay, instead of sum of, what should I say? Table is sales. Okay, table is sales. The problem is what? Okay, we will not be able to use the expression, meaning the column from another table in case of filter. Okay, so I need to add the country here. Okay, since the sales table don't have country. Okay, so if I say, if this is not sufficient, okay, so I'm going to add just country column here in sales table. I will say new column, and there is nothing called country. Okay, so I will say country, and I will add the country. Okay, based on the relationship, it will work by using the related function. We'll discuss related function in my subsequent videos. Okay, related territory country, and this will return me the country name, and I can use these country names here in case of calculate functions. Okay, and here in case of filter expression. Okay, the so table, sorry, this filter expression is going to return as a table. Okay, that's why after, meaning it is not going to return the table as it is going to return the table after the filtering row. That's why we say this kind of expressions, when we use this kind of expressions in the calculate functions to modify the filter context. Okay, that kind of expressions we referred as an table filter expressions. So I will say sales country is equal to Canada. Okay, so you will see the same value. Even we can use another function. Okay, mostly instead of this and adding the new column to the sales table, and what we can do, we can use the another function that returns the table. So I will say calculate table function. Okay, and if I say this is what going to return me the sales table, but what is the filter? So I will use the filter directly from the territory country. Territory country is equal to Canada. Okay, and even this function has ability to filter the data based on the relationship. Okay, and here you will see that value is remains same. It is not going to change by any of the ways. But yes, the functions which returns, okay, the expressions which returns the table after filtering the rows, and if we use that kind of expressions or that kind of functions, okay, so that kind of expressions we referred as an table filter expression. So now let's discuss what is calculate and how calculate is going to work. So it's time to understand the calculate actually. Okay, so let me keep this as it is instead of doing some modification, but I will bring the syntax here of calculate function, because it is very important to understand the calculate function. If you do not understand this, what is context and all, you will not be able to perform the calculations at effective way or with optimized performance. Okay, so let's see how calculate function is going to work. If I say, so this is what my syntax of calculate function. Okay, so in case of expression, what you can do, you can use any kind of expression. Even here, if you have created any other measure that is returning the aggregation values, okay, so you can use measure or aggregate functions as an expressions. Obviously this is going to, but yes, in case of filter, we have seen you can use, okay, Boolean expression or Boolean, I will say filter expression or table filter expression. Any of these you can use, right? Even third part you can use, that is what filter modification expression, filter modification expression. So anything is good to use here in case of filter, which is in calculate function. So calculate function is a very dynamic function. Even it is a very powerful function to perform the dynamic calculations with respect to the data analysis. Okay. And even it enables us to modify the existing filter context. Okay. So here in case of calculate, it is allow you to give the more than one filters. Then how execution is going to work? Okay. What will execute first? That's what I have to discuss here. So evaluation order of calculate function. I will say evaluation order of calculate function. So let me open the calculate function. Even I'm going to create, let's say, new measure with the calculate function. I will say calculate. Okay, I will just give the name as it is, and I will say calculate. Okay, it is not going to give me the suggestion. That's why I hit the enter button. Okay, and then you can use measure, as I said. Even you can use the sum or sum of x, whatever you want. You can use here. So I will use sum of sales amount, and I'm going to apply the multiple filter here. Okay, sum of sales amount. Okay, on next line. Okay, yes, you can write like this even. So I will add filter here. So if I say country is equal to United States. Okay. Even on next line, I will apply the next filter. But let's understand evaluation order for this single filter first. Okay. If I hit the enter button, it is going to perform the calculation for me for the United States country. And I will return this here. Okay, this is not returning me. Okay, calculate function I used here. So this function is giving me the amount for United States. Fine. So this is very much fine for me. Now, if I open the calculate here, you can see that first one is a calculation expression, second one is a filter. So what will execute first, or how this calculate function is going to perform the calculation? You need to understand that to write the effective formulas, which will work even faster. Okay. So if I say United States, so at very first place, what it is going to do, it is going to filter the data, and then it is going to perform the calculation. Okay. So there is no meaning to perform the calculation first and then perform the filters, right? So that's why filters works first. Filters will get executed first, and then the expression will be evaluated on that filter data. Okay. So now on top of this filter, United States filter, okay, if I add one more filter, okay, if I add one more filter, not territory, but let me say occupation of customer is equal to, if I say professional, okay. So this is again going to affect my value, and this is what my value. Yes, so this function is working fine. Now here, earlier there was only one function. In that case, okay, this expression and this filter expression. So which filter expression will be evaluated first? So first filter expression will be evaluated first. Second filter expression will be evaluated second. Okay, this will be the order. And at third Once the data will get filtered, it will perform the aggregation. This is how the evaluation order works. The problem is what? Okay, in total, okay, in case of your table, I will take the actual example. Okay, if I go to the sales data here, sales table, how many rows are there? 60,398 rows are there. Okay, I will write that number somewhere. 60,398 rows. After applying the first filter, how many rows will remain? Okay, so what it is doing? So it is filtering the data for first United States country. If I come here, okay, and if I come to the territory table, okay, to see the United States countries key, okay, 1 to 5 keys will be there. See, if again I will come back to the sales table and I will filter the record from here. Manually, I'm going to check the rows, number of rows. So first, second, third, and first 5 keys are there for the United States country. How many rows are remaining? Okay. So 21,344 rows are remaining. So this will get reduced by first filter for the number 21,344. Okay, this is fine. Again, I will go and I will see the next filter condition. If I go to the customer, there is a customer key called. Okay, so there is a customer key. Based on the customer key, it got connected, but there might be a lots of data. Okay. So let's see what is the common. Okay, if I go and if I select the professional. So the problem is what? Okay, we have many customer keys based on the relationship is created. So these many customers keys will be used there to filter. Okay, let's use the expression to get the count. I will use the count X. In the case of check, what I will do, I will use count X. This is going to count my rows. Okay, I will say sales and from. Okay, if I will say sorry, occupation is not going to work here. In this case, we need to bring the, or we need to give the, okay. So instead of this, I will use calculate function. That will be more easy. Calculate and count, or even I can say count of rows for sales table where okay, where customer occupation is equal to professional, right? So this is what my condition. Next condition is this one I have given yes for the professional. Okay, so now I have created one row and this is going to return the filter. But yes, again, one more filter is there. I will add, that is for the country called United States and country. Both the filters I need to apply. Territory country is equal to United States. To get the number, I am doing this. Okay, what will be the number? Okay, if I use the card, and if I bring the check here, so this will return. Right? This will return, meaning if I apply the second filter, okay, if I apply the second filter, so my number or row number will get dropped to 7773. And on this number of rows, it is going to perform the calculation. Okay, fine. But where is the problem? Problem is here, which filter we should apply first. Which filter we should apply first. If I come to the check, okay, if I remove the first condition, if I use the country territory, okay, for first, so it will return me 21,344 rows, right? And out of this, again, it will apply filter for customer occupation is equal to professional. Instead of this, if I use the first filter as a professional, okay, occupation and occupation is equal to professional, what will be my count? Whether this is decreasing or increasing. Okay, fine. So my count will be 19K. If I go here and call out value, okay, decimal places, even I don't want unit. So this is what my actual number. On top of this, okay, on top of this, if I apply second filter as a first filter, okay, so this will reduce the 8995 as my row. And then if I apply the filter for the country, the number will remain same. Okay, then which one is faster? Okay, filtering the data from 21,000 rows is faster, or filtering the data from 19,000 rows is faster? Obviously, filtering the data from 19,000 rows will work faster. Okay, so in case of, see, these records are in thousands, even we will not be observe the difference in time, performance time. But if you have records in billions, definitely you will see the difference. So it is always better to use the filter which reduce the large number of rows as a first filter. Okay, if I say instead of this as a first filter, and then you can put the another filter which will reduce. So if you think like this, then your Power BI will work very much faster. So this is again, the order matters, but here order will remain same. This will get executed first, this will get executed second, and this will be executed third. This is what the evaluation order in calculate function. So this is what first, this will executed second, and this will executed third. Right. So this is about the calculate functions in Power BI, and what is the context, what is mean by filter context, column context, row context, even modified context. I everything discussed, even what is the filter, Boolean filter expression, what is the table filter expression, and what is the function, meaning the filter modification function in Power BI. So far I covered this much things in this video. So here I discussed only calculate functions. In my subsequent video, I will discuss another filter functions. I hope you like the content of this video. Thank you so much for watching the video. Have a nice day.